Donald Trump's cognitive decline is completely undeniable at this point. And it's funny because it seems like the person who wants to bring the most attention to it is Donald Trump. He is doing everything he can to get the mainstream media, who have completely neglected his decline, to focus on it. And he did so by falling asleep in the cabinet meeting today. Dozy Don was nodding off as his handlers and his cabinet secretaries tried to talk to him and wake him up. It was a complete mess. We are going to get into the humiliation. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the moment that Trump was dozing off, I want to start with how he began with a little bit of energy, attacking Democrats and the issue of affordability.
There's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. They just say the word. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. They just say it. Affordability. I inherited the worst inflation in history. There was no affordability. Nobody could afford anything. The prices were massively high. Do you remember when we took over eggs? You did a great job on that, Madam Secretary. Agriculture, Brooke. Eggs were 4 or 5 times higher than they had ever been. They said don't order eggs for Easter at the White House. And we ended up doing it, and we got the egg prices way down, lower than what they were before. But the word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. She had no idea. Their prices were much higher.
Prices have never been higher, and Donald Trump is taking the opportunity to attack people struggling with the crisis of affordability, saying that it's fake, that it's political, that the Democrats, they're talking about it too much. Yes, because people can't afford to live or to eat, and the price of everything is skyrocketing, so maybe we should be talking about it. He's just upset, and I think he is especially upset because he knows that there is a special election in Tennessee today when Afton Ben, the Democrat, has been talking about affordability nonstop because she actually cares about making sure people can have health care, housing, food, the basic necessities of life. Oh, how radical and scary that is. But Donald Trump then moved on from attacking the Democrats on the issue of affordability to attacking Democrats for calling out the fact that he's deteriorating before our eyes, which was pretty ironic because after he said this, he fell asleep.
Took my physical. I got all A's, everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right. And these are tough questions. These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people that, from the fake news, would not do well in those exams. But I'm the only one that took it. I got every single question right. And then I read in the New York Times, is Trump sharp? Trump is sharp. But they're not sharp. That's why they're going out of business, the New York Times. I hear that they're losing so much money. It's ridiculous.
This story just reeks to me. And it is funny that Trump continues to give us more details that are ultimately hurting him and raising more questions. They certainly didn't ask Trump if he wanted to take a cognitive test. I also think that the president of the United States doesn't really have time to sit for like an SAT-style exam and just like fill in his little bubbles unless something seriously wrong is going on with him. He doesn't just have an extra hour to spare every day. I know he technically does because he doesn't work. But that's not like the schedule of the president and how it looks. And it's also funny for Trump to say they've never had to give one to a president, but they saw my busted ass brain and they said, wow, this guy's dumb and declining. It's like, yes, we understand that you are the stupidest president in history, that you are the most unwell president in history, but you didn't have to say it. I'm glad he did, and I'm glad he's starting to show us and the rest of the mainstream media, who again have completely failed to cover this. But it's difficult when they were all standing in the cabinet room with Donald Trump and he decided to doze off. Ron Filikowski of Midas Touch tweets Trump sleeping in another cabinet meeting today. This was truly hysterical to watch because, as you can see, Donald Trump is just kind of fading in and out, and the eyes are he's wobbling a little bit and they're barely open, and then they're back closed, and he's all tired. And oh my gosh, he had to stay up all night. What did he post? 160 times on Truth Social last night? So Lil Donnie had a big day of posting, and now he's all sleepy, tired. He can't even get through a cabinet meeting. Oh, it's so difficult to rant and rave and then to have to listen to J.D. Vance and listen to Pete Hegseth, and he's got all that alcohol on his breath. So you kind of just want to lean away. But of course, Donald Trump is falling asleep. In cabinet meetings, we have seen the decline every single day of this administration, and there's really nothing that the mainstream media can do to avoid covering this anymore. I know they don't want to, but literally Donald Trump's own handlers recognized that he was falling asleep. So I think the media should recognize that he was falling asleep. Listen to Scott Bessent trying to wake him up and keep him engaged as he dozes off.
By energy prices is going to roll next year. I think it's going to be a fantastic year. That we can look back, be very proud of this year, but I think 2026 is going to be great for the American people. Thanks to you.
It's going to be great. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Donald Trump's handlers are desperate to save him at this point. They see what is going on. They see a cognitively declining old man who can no longer do a job he has never been capable of and never should have had in the first place. And they are as panicked as anyone else. But some of them aren't, I think I should point out. If you're J.D. Vance, you're thrilled about this. You're thinking 25th Amendment, or you're thinking, a certain type of trip to Walter Reed. I'm not suggesting it. I haven't said that I'm praying. I'm winking there. That I'm praying for it, that I'm hoping for it, that one day we will be popping all of the champagne in the world. But J.D. Vance is thrilled about it. Do you know who is really thrilled about it? Stephen Miller. Because he's already running the show and it gives him an opportunity to do so even more. But that is what happens in the Trump administration. You have people who are trying to seize power, and then you have others who don't even understand where their power comes from, what their authority is, and are probably just hoping that the fact that Donald Trump is in such cognitive decline means he can actually bust out the auto pen for a pardon for Pete Hegseth or Kristi Noem or Stephen Miller, and that they can do it without him knowing, because that actually wouldn't surprise me. But Trump, in his elder state, in his falling apartedness, decided he would have a little burst of energy for just a moment when he decided to talk about more health-related issues and something obviously near and dear to his heart, which is the fat drug.
As an example for let's go with the fat drug, F-A-T, for fat people. Anybody use it at the table? Don't ask. But the fat drug was $135. Think of that. For certain people, $1,300 for certain countries, $1,300 in New York. So in New York it was $1,300, and in London it was $135. And a friend of mine called me, he said, what is this? Why is it? He got used to paying $1,300. Well, now what we have it down to is, Bobby, what's the number, like 150 or something? We have it down to a low number, don't we?
Yeah, it's around 100, 125, 150.
Yeah, think of that. So we got it down from $1,300 to $125 to $140, depending on...
Remember when Donald Trump announced in front of the world that one of his very rich friends, very rich and high-profile friends, was on the fat drug, and it was so obviously Elon Musk? Yeah, I think we should have known back when we were doing Hannibal Lecter multiple times a week that the man was in cognitive decline. I certainly did. I talked about it. We warned about it. I know y'all might get annoyed with me saying it at this point, but the mainstream media's failure to cover Donald Trump and his declining health is such an embarrassment, especially in contrast to that being all that they wanted to talk about during Joe Biden's presidency. And it makes me think about a clip that I've referenced a couple times because it's really just stuck with me and annoyed the shit out of me, of Abby Phillip, who I think does a good job on her show, even though I don't like the debate style of that show. I don't like any show with a lot of Scott Jennings, but said, very much reminiscent of Trump, that she's a little tired of talking about Epstein. Are you tired of talking about Epstein, the biggest scandal in presidential history, and you're just ready to move on? We talked about Joe Biden's shoes, his tennis shoes, for a week straight. Donald Trump is constantly falling apart. You don't want to talk about it. He even wants to talk about his health.
Find something new, like, is he in good health? Biden was great, but is Trump in good health? I sit here, I do 4 news conferences a day. I ask questions from very intelligent lunatics, you people. And I give the right answers. There's never a scandal, there's never a problem. I give you answers that solve your little problems. You go back and you can't find anything, but you do stories about Biden was in wonderful health. The guy didn't do a news conference for 8 months. If I go one day, I had one day where I didn't do a news conference, there's something wrong with the president. You people are crazy. I'll let you know when there's something wrong. There will be someday. That's going to happen to all of us. But right now, I think I'm sharper than I was 25 years ago, but who the hell knows?
I keep saying it. It's almost as if he actually does want us discussing his health all of the time. That he is really excited about the opportunity for us to realize that he is falling apart before our very eyes. Which he is. He is falling apart. Donald Trump's health is just getting worse and deteriorating every single day. And with that, so is his panic. It's not deteriorating, it's actually escalating. It's raising. And why Donald Trump, again, so afraid of what might happen in Tennessee today, that he decided to make a big announcement about a policy change that's coming to the White House.
That at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay. Because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous, that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax. We've slashed.
Oh, we're getting rid of income tax. Yeah, okay, sure. That is the level of panic that this White House is at. We are at the no more income tax panic level. But I guess I really just don't think I should be surprised by anything anymore. But I should be calling it all out, which is what we're going to be doing on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time.